Good morning and good afternoon. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the Serving Communities Through Housing Counseling Conference. My name is Olivia Healy, and I'm a Community Development Specialist with ICF. I work on a wide variety of HUD-funded programming from CDBG-DR, CDBG-CV, and housing counseling. HUD's offices of housing counseling, community planning and development, and field policy and management have joined forces to host this virtual conference over the next 2 days. This conference is in place for housing counselor and CPD grantees to foster collaboration to better serve their clients. Throughout this conference, attendees will become knowledgeable about the wide array of HUD programs, understand the role of housing counseling agencies in the support of homeless, rental, and home buyer programs, and pursue building relationships amongst these programs at the local and state level. This conference will utilize Zoom as its conference platform and will be supported by Whova and our HUD Exchange conference page. Later in this opening session, I will review Whova so you feel empowered to network and engage with other attendees outside of these sessions. Now let's go into some logistics. As mentioned, we're on Zoom today. Attendees have been joined in a listen-only mode. We ask that you have any technical questions that you submit them in the chat box. And then if there's any question specific, you can submit them in the Q&A. Our materials have been posted to the HUD Exchange prior to our conference delivery, so you're able to use the presentations while we go through the sessions, take notes, and collaborate and mark kind of your learnings throughout the process. After our delivery, we will post the recordings and the transcripts of these sessions to the HUD Exchange. After attending this conference session, we do mark your attendance within your HUD Exchange account, and you're able to print a certificate of attendance to document your participation in our event. During our conference deliveries and our webinar deliveries for housing counseling, we love using Mentimeter as a tool to get to know you guys better. What we'll do is provide that Mentimeter link in the chat box, and we ask that you join us on Mentimeter. You can join on a phone or a browser link. That link that we provided in the chat is a direct way to access this. You could also go to menti.com and use the code 43599019. Once you join to this screen, please just hit that heart button and make sure that you're able to access this. In order to get to know all of our conference attendees a bit better, we have this first question, and it's pretty simple, but what agency do you represent? Since we do have a dual attendee offering for this conference delivery. Housing counseling agencies, CPD grantees, and then both a housing counseling agency and a CPD grantee. And then the next question that we want to know, since we are showcasing the intersect of these CPD programs with housing counseling agencies throughout our conference, we'd love to know which programs you're currently administering before we go through our conference curriculum. This question specifically allows you to choose multiple answers. So if you're offering more than one, please add that in your response. I'm going to bring us back to our presentation and start introducing us to the leaders that made this conference possible. So it's my pleasure to invite David Behrenbaum, the Deputy Assistant Secretary for HUD's Office of Housing Counseling. David.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. HUD's Office of Housing Counseling is focused on building upon the strong foundation that exists between our public and private sector partners, the Office of Community Planning and Development, the Office of Field Policy and Management, and of course, our HUD-approved counseling agencies, state housing finance agencies, and national and multi-state intermediaries across the nation. We appreciate your taking the time to join over 1,450 of your colleagues who are actively engaging with each other, not only through Zoom right now with each other, but also using the Whova technology platform. To begin, to kick off our program, it's my pleasure to introduce my colleague, Lopa Kaluri, who will open the Creating Linkages in Community Planning Conference. Lopa serves as the Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary for the Office of Housing and the Federal Housing Administration at the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. In this role, she is the senior leader responsible for the office's policies, programs, and operations, supporting homebuyers, homeowners, multifamily residents, and housing counselors. Lopa is also responsible for the office's oversight of manufactured housing and single-family, multifamily, and healthcare mortgage insurance programs. Lopa, take it away.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much for that warm introduction. And welcome to all of you who have joined today. Whether you're a housing counselor, a state or local government CPD grantee, or a member of the larger housing industry community of practice, on behalf of HUD, I thank you for your partnership with us and for the critical services you're providing for the nation's individuals, families, and communities. For all of us in housing, the past year and a half has been filled with both historic challenges to address and historic opportunities to build upon for the future of the nation's housing. Collectively, we have worked to help millions of homeowners and renters impacted by the pandemic, disproportionately individuals and families of color, through this administration's sweeping American Rescue Plan, the deployment of Treasury's Emergency Rental Assistance Program, and Treasury's Homeowner Assistance Fund Program. At the same time, we are working to address the barriers to housing supply and affordability, despite a housing market which has priced out many low and moderate income first-time homebuyers and left those seeking affordable rental housing with few options to live close to work or in neighborhoods of high opportunity. The conversations you will be having today about building linkages between community planning and housing counseling are more than simply speaking about grant programs and eligibility requirements, although these are vital and important as well. At its core, this two-day event is about building the knowledge, resources, and synergies among practitioners for addressing housing supply, building strong and resilient communities, and reducing the racial equity gap in homeownership. Addressing these challenges is a high priority for the Biden-Harris administration and for HUD. Within HUD's Office of Housing, we, along with our colleagues in CPD and FPM, are at the center of these issues and continue to address them head on. Our guide is the HUD recently published strategic plan, and it has 5 goals. Number 1, support underserved communities. Number 2, ensure access and increase production of affordable housing. Number 3, promote homeownership. Number 4, advance communities. And number 5, strengthen HUD's internal capacity. Your partnership and the work you are doing to support your local communities will be critical to HUD's success, and more importantly, to individuals, families, and the communities we all seek to serve. Thank you again. Thank you again to all of you for being here today and for your ongoing partnership and dedication with HUD.
Thank you, Lopa. It is now my honor to introduce Kevin Bush, who serves as the Deputy Assistant Secretary at HUD's Office of Community Planning and Development. As the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Grant Programs, Mr. Bush oversees affordable housing and community development programs, including the Community Development Block Grant Program, commonly known as CDBG, the Home Investment Partnerships Program, the Housing Trust Fund, and the Community Development Block Grant Program Disaster Recovery Funds, in addition to department-wide energy and environmental policy initiatives. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you, and good afternoon, or if you're on the West Coast or the Middle Country, good morning still. I'm excited to be partnering with my colleagues in the Office of Housing Counseling and Field Policy and Management to deliver this important training today about the linkages between housing counseling and the CPD programs that I administer. Many of the grantees that are here are already familiar with the vast benefits of housing counseling, and I'm happy you are here with us today, and I hope that those who are with us who are less familiar with housing counseling learn from your past accomplishments. As you all know, CPD has a diverse set of grantees and subrecipients across the country working to create strong, sustainable communities and quality affordable homes. Housing counseling is vital to the work of all of our grantees across CDBG, home, and CDBG disaster recovery. From pre and post-purchase counseling to preventing evictions and foreclosures, housing counseling is a tool to improve the resilience of communities by helping keep people in their homes or move them to areas of opportunity. CPD grantees have found that housing counseling can make a comprehensive housing activity successful. Across the country, our grantees are funding housing counseling that serve underserved populations to make housing decisions and access housing programs that meet their needs. Grantees have found that when individuals have access to all the information, they can make informed decisions that lead to greater opportunity. And in times of crisis like now, whether it's the pandemic or a natural disaster, homeowners and home buyers are faced with more uncertainty than ever before. And so we've seen grantees realizing how housing counseling's significance leads to greater recovery. For example, many communities around the country are experiencing impacts of severe weather or the impacts of the pandemic on their communities. And in many cases, they're considering even new questions as they look at how or where to locate. To underscore the importance of housing counseling in recovery, the latest Federal Register notice for our $5 billion of CDBG DR grants requires grantees to assess whether public services like housing counseling are necessary to complement their disaster recovery activities. But even beyond disaster recovery, we know that housing counseling can be fundamental to many housing strategies. And it's my hope that those of you who are with us who are not familiar with the benefits of counseling learn how important it can be. We're all here doing this work because we want to create more resilient, stronger, and sustainable communities, and housing counseling can help us achieve that goal. Thank you, and I hope you have a great conference today.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And now, on behalf of the entire team at the Office of Housing Counseling, I would like my turn to welcome you to the conference. We are very glad that you are here. Housing counseling has been around for 50 years, offering individualized assistance to help consumers prepare to either rent or own a home. Counseling also provides consumers with the information and education about their housing options they need, as well as supports the long-term sustainability of homeownership. HUD certified housing counselors are best-in-class professionals who are trained and can support the housing needs of CPD grantee clients. Housing counseling agencies partnering and working together with CPD grantees can provide a comprehensive and a holistic range of services to clients who need the most. There are so many opportunities for collaboration, from preparing households for homeownership to ensuring that every individual and family that we serve has access to safe and affordable housing. Partnership activities can include numerous other service delivery areas, including HIV, eviction and foreclosure prevention, homelessness rehousing, disaster relief, and of course, fair housing, community education, and affirmative marketing, to name just a few. This conference is designed to build knowledge. Throughout our 2 days together, you will learn about field policy and management FPM activities, along with the basics of CPD programs and how housing counseling can support serving those clients. You will also have an opportunity to take a deep dive on major CPD programs. Finally, there will be partnership sessions where you will hear and learn from some real-life agency examples. As Lopa Kalori noted, at its core, this 2-day event is about building the knowledge, resources, and synergies among practitioners for addressing housing supply, building strong and resilient communities, and reducing the racial equity gap in homeownership. We hope that at the end of this conference, you will identify linkages and opportunities for partnerships within your own geographies and your own communities. We have some amazing speakers with extensive knowledge in their areas of expertise. So please stay engaged here with the Zoom platform and on Hoover, our networking platform. And now I'll return it to Olivia to take us through the next steps as we launch the program. Thanks, everyone, and enjoy.
Thanks, David. Well, I want to just, again, thank you so much for being here. We're so happy to have you. And we're just grateful that you took time out of your schedule to learn and engage with us about these partnerships. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run us through Whova, which is our companion platform that we're using throughout our delivery. And the reason that we're using Whova is to give you this opportunity to network amongst yourselves in this virtual setting, to really build those one-on-one relationships and to take the conversations past just the presentations and between all of the conference attendees. You would have received an email from Whova with joining information. If you've not received that or can't access that email, we'll be providing in the chat the web app link information that's located on this slide. And it's also located in every presentation. You can use this link and that invitation code to join if you haven't had the opportunity to do so. When you join into this platform, you have the options to interface with the system on a web app, which is what we refer to as just on your computer or your internet, or an app that you can download within an app store on either an iPhone or Android application. When you're in the system, the interface is the same between the both of them. I'm going to use the web app for our demo today and make sure you know where everything is. So starting off on your left-hand side of your screen, you'll have the horizontal functions to navigate through. And then the right-hand side of our screen is the activity feed. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's been so much engagement so far. You'll find a very nice welcome from all of the leaders that have already spoke to us today and the leaders that we'll also have during our closing remarks. When you move here on the home screen, you also have a direct link to our Hud Exchange conference page. That's the link that we provide to you and we say that the conference materials have been posted, but there's also this quick link right here as well. When you click on the agenda, you have the option to see all of our different sessions, which will provide you a link to join the sessions as well. If you click into our next community linkages, you'll be able to join the stream here, and you'll also be able to see the speakers that are during that session. When you move past this agenda, if you look at all the sessions at large, if you're not able to attend everything or there's a session that you really don't want to miss, make sure you click the add to my agenda and build out your own personal agenda, which is located at the top. So I'm obviously going to be at our welcome. So I'm adding it to my agenda, which is located here. You can view all of the speakers for our event by clicking on the speakers tab that's underneath the agenda section. During here, you'll have a quick view to see which speakers are speaking during what session, a little bit of bio if they've provided it, and photos. So we can see David here, which is a very nice feature. When you click on the attendees tab, similar to our speakers, you'll see all of the other conference attendees that are here with us today or throughout our event. In the top right corner, this is where you'll have your first option in customizing your content. So once you click into this, I have my name, some of my interests, my organization, my education. These items are the ones that I chose to add, but completely up to you on what you feel comfortable adding in this space. The further you fill out that information, you'll get this recommended tab. This recommended tab will show different locations, or where your locations and other attendees that are in a similar location as you, your organization, education, or those interests. This is one of my favorite ways to find people through this system to network with throughout this event. Diversity, inclusion, collaboration, and then some of my hobby-like items really bridge that first connection to start fostering communication among conference attendees. And something that you would normally do walking through the hallways or sitting next to someone at a conference. When you're back on this main page and you're not in that recommended area, on a user's profile, you have the option to bookmark, view a profile, or say hi. If you bookmark, you'll create your own customized contact list, which is really nice, maybe equivalent to gathering a lot of different business cards at an in-person event. That'll be something you can refer back to at the end of this event. This platform Whova, we've had it open since last week. We'll moderate throughout this week and into next, but you as attendees will have 3 months post-event to come back and view any of the information that's been exchanged or shared within this platform. When you click the Say Hi button, it just creates a direct message for that one-on-one conversation within the system that doesn't require a contact or information exchange. It'll just exist within the system, which is also a really nice feature to utilize throughout the event. Moving through our community tab, one thing that I'm really excited to flag for you guys, if you've been an attendee for a housing counseling focused conference, or if you're a CDBG DR grantee, we just used this at our problem solving clinic. There's a new feature that's located at the top of the screen that lets you click different categories of community boards. And this is a really useful tool in staying organized throughout our conference. When you click on by organizers, you will see everything that my ICF team is working on moderating throughout. All of my colleagues are participating in this and our speakers throughout the event. All of our HUD counterparts that are working so effectively as speakers and behind the scenes and all around are working to make sure that these boards are moderated and engaged with throughout the event. So if you want to specifically go to the boards that our team is working on, this is a quick way for you to do that. You can also follow specific boards that will allow you to track just the engagement of the boards that pique your interest, or it's a topic that you're engaged in, and it will populate under your following. To speak more to the boards that our team is moderating throughout this event, we have 2 categories of boards that we've chosen to set up for you guys. The first are session-specific boards. For all of our sessions, minus the opening and the closing, we've created a community board to foster communication around the topics, also seek questions in advance, during, and after all of our presentations, and be able to, after delivery, present some key takeaways that we think that you should remember or file in your cabinet of thought after our conference. And so that way it can be all documented in one place and really be a one-two shop or a quick stop by for all the information that you need. The second board that we have created are the Hud Regional Boards. This was something that we decided to do based off of past conference deliveries and the theme of our conference at large. A lot of people like to communicate based off of locality. It helps make it more personal, relatable, understandable. So we've created all the boards as designated by HUD regions. And so there'll be a category of all of the different states or territories that are located within those regions, the specific resources that are from the HUD.gov, and then also how to find a housing counselor link so you can search by your locality and be quickly identified a housing counseling agency that works with your locality. So again, those are a few ways that we've planned communication and engagement, but you're also able to create any topic that you want. Easiest thing that I recommend you all doing is break the ice. It's my favorite way to get to know you all, and I'll make sure to go through everyone that's taken the time to do this and say hi. So thank you all for being here again. As I mentioned, the private messages will just come in this messages category. All of the photos that are being shared will populate under the photos category. And as you interact with our system, you do get points and you will be ranked on our leaderboard. And this is a big thing that people love to engage and see who's most engaged throughout the event. And I think David likes to talk about it during the closing just to showcase all the hard work that you guys put in, not only attending the sessions, but also engaging outside of them. So bringing us back to our presentation, again, on the conference website, you can get this web app link if you haven't had the opportunity to join Whova, and make sure you sign in and get engaged. It's a really fun way to do this virtually. So for our upcoming sessions, This slide provides an overview of what we have going on today outside of our welcome. We will first start off with the creating linkages and community planning, which is going to contextualize the role of FPM and CPD at large. And I do want to recognize that we do keep using these acronyms, but if you have a little cheat sheet on the side, OHC, that acronym throughout the conference, is Office of Housing Counseling. CPD is Community Planning and Development, and then Field Policy and Management is the FPM acronym. So to help you kind of keep track of that along the way. After we create that high-level overview, we want to contextualize housing counseling and provide the full overview of what housing counseling truly is and as it's defined when we say HUD certified housing counseling. Then we will transition into our first programmatic focus session. The idea of our full conference delivery style for these 2 days is that each of the sessions will build upon one another. We'll tie back to some of the basics or the items that you can't miss if you weren't in the first session. But if you do happen to miss a session, we really do recommend you reviewing the materials that get posted to the HUD Exchange and be able to fully build out your comprehension and knowledge around these topics. Our way to get into the more specific details as we move through our conference curriculum was really building off of each session as we designed what content we wanted in each specific session. I mentioned that the building capacity with community development and disaster programs is our first programmatic session. During that session, and David talked to it a bit, we have pulled out specific scenarios that you'll see them very clear in the presentation that really showcase and bring these concepts to life, and our fellow attendees and grantees and that have actually made these linkages already and are applying them. And so that way you can start to see these concepts take shape. And that will be everything for today's curriculum. And then tomorrow we'll have a whole other robust sessions and would love to have you involved with that as well. I am, again, so grateful that you're here. I am thankful for all of the HUD partners that have made this possible. What we're going to do right now is we're going to pause and give a moment. And then if you're already on this link, this is where our linkages session will start on the top of the half hour. So at 12:30, we'll kick off our next session. And if you have any technical questions, feel free to submit them in the chat, and then we'll move into our next session. But thank you so much for being here.